record this. Massachusetts, Arizona. I'm in Utah right now, currently. And we are fixing to move next week. So that's super crazy, but here in Utah still. So that's awesome. So not too far. All right, let's get started. I have a lot of things that I want to share today. All right, admit everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, welcome. Today is going to be a fun, exciting webinar training thing. So I'm super excited. I've been teaching this for a while, and a lot of people have been wanting to learn about the power of dowsing, and especially within the home itself. So for those of you who are new, I'll just go ahead and drop in the chat box. Who is kind of new to the world of Tyler Watson and what I do? Just drop in if you're new. If you're a veteran and you've been studying a while, just drop in there and be like, hey, I'm a veteran. I got this. Like, so I'd love to see that. And then we'll just kind of kick it off here. Oh, new veteran. Okay, new. I am new. Welcome those of you who are new. So let me just do a really quick intro. I'm not going to spend a ton of time doing an intro today because I really want to just dive into the content. But for what I'm going to teach you, how powerful it is good to have some context so that you can believe it. With dowsing, and hopefully you're here to learn dowsing because that's what this is for today. So you're in the right spot. Now, my name's Tyler Watson. I look like I'm 16 years old, but I'm actually in my 30s, and I have an amazing, beautiful wife and 3 kids, one who is now 8 weeks old. So yay for new babies. And congrats to all the moms out there and all the work you put in. You can't get enough credit because that is a lot of work. And I really appreciate all the moms out there. It is not an easy thing to do. So thank you. And what I do, my mission in life, one of my missions is to help people become unstoppable on their endeavor in life. Help them take their passion, live it, and spread goodness to the world while they monetize their message. They can truly make an impact and not let anything stop them. So if they have a goal, if you have a goal, something you're wanting to go toward, and you feel resistance, something just isn't happening as fast as you'd like it to be, then we want to change that. And hopefully today, you're going to learn a little bit about how to do that. I'm also the founder of what's called the abundance alignment technique, a powerful technique where you do some real weird tapping and breathing and smiling, and it changes the universe. It's awesome. You just change, miracles happen. So we've seen people change food allergies to manifest $65,000 in a week, to have better relationships, to find their ideal houses, to get rid of glaucomas in their eye, to all sorts of amazing things. But today, what I'm here to teach you is dowsing, another one of my favorite tools. This, I would say, is the second most common technique that I use. Okay. First is abundance alignment technique. Second is dowsing. And here's what we're going to do today. Today, I'm going to teach you some context, some background about what is dowsing, how to use it, how to get rid of all the weird concepts out there, because all it is in the end is using your brain, using your mind. If I'm a little echoey in here, it's because I took down everything in my room, and so we're moving, and it's like it feels echoey to me. So that's why. It's because we're packing up. Okay, it sounds good. Good. Hopefully my mic's working okay and it's not too echoey for y'all. All right, so with that, we're going to do something really cool. We're going to teach you, if you do have a pendulum, you can use it. If you don't worry. Maybe you're just here for the ride. If you want to make one your own, you could just tie a string to a ring, okay? Something that gives it a swing. All right. Now, I don't expect by the time we're done for you to master dowsing. I have been around dowsing since I was like 2 years old. And what is dowsing? Well, dowsing is a simple way of measuring intuition, of measuring your thought energy to change your situation or circumstances. Okay. So it has nothing to do with this, has everything to do with this, everything to do with you. Not the thing. So if you think you have to have some sort of magically put under the moon and blessed 100 times, you don't. All you do is need something that swings. Okay, something that swings. I prefer a little bit more of a pendulum, just so that it swings really nicely and it's easier to less easy to manipulate. Okay, so if you have one, great. If you don't worry about it. You can just watch this. You'll have the recording too, and you can go practice it. Okay, all right. Yes. So we used to do dowsing with coat hangers. Good. Yes. So there's different various forms of dowsing. Let me give some background. So my dad, he is an avid dowser. He taught me how to douse, and I grew up in Arkansas. So he used dowsing to actually find his house, where to move to. He used to live in Texas, and he doused where he needed to live in order to create a healing space. He had broken his back when I was a kid. He had crawled up a ladder and fell and landed on a rebar and broke his back. So he kept working until he was paralyzed from the waist down. And that's just the kind of person my dad was. He was just, let's go work till you can't anymore. And he needed to heal. And so he literally said a prayer and then doused and checked on the map where they were to move. And it turned out a weird town of Arkansas. And then he's like, well, what part of Arkansas? And it showed him where to go. And he's like, okay, Berryville, Arkansas, little town of nobody. So they literally packed up and drove to Arkansas and found their house. And it was exactly where they needed to be, on Pinchin Mountain, where they still have a clinic that is one of the most healing places that I've ever been to. Has healing springs there. It's amazing. It's awesome. So I'm a firm believer of the power of intention and the power of the mind. He also healed and was able to walk, and now he helps other people. So it's amazing. And we grew up there. So very powerful. Traditionally, most people know dowsing as, yes, with the hangers, where you walk and you look for either gold or water. Mostly water is what people did it for. And you can find water lines and gold and all sorts of stuff. That's one way to douse. Another way to douse is finding places, finding things. Another way to douse is actually changing things. Okay? So you can actually use dowsing to transform energy from one thing to the next. So I'm kind of diving in too fast, but I want to just get a poll here. First off, how many are excited to change something in your life and be able to do that easier, faster, more efficiently? Yeah? By show of hand or in the comments? Yeah, me. Awesome.
I doubt anyone would say no.
I doubted when I said no. Yeah, by the way, this is Rakesh. He's one of my clients. He's awesome. He's super fun. Thanks, Rakesh. That's awesome. So good. So you're here. And secondly, some ground rules. First off, we need an open mind. Okay. What I'm going to teach, you might have different perceptions of. I'm just going to invite you to have an open mind. What I teach, if you believe it, could possibly make a huge difference in your life in a very short amount of time. So I'm going to encourage you that no matter what you've been through, no matter how many things you've learned, no matter how much educated you are, how much education you've gotten, right? All that, you can just say, cool, maybe there's something today that I can learn and add to my toolbox to hopefully make an impact in my life and my family's life and in those that you're serving. So that's number one, okay? Number two, we're going to have a lot of fun today. Today's going to be a lot of fun. I am excited to teach this. Out of all the things I teach, this one's always the most fun. It's just super cool because it's so simple, yet it's fun. So we're going to have a lot of fun. Number three, high level of respect. So we're going to have a lot of different belief systems, a lot of different personalities, a lot of different problems, a lot of different solutions. But can we all set a standard that whatever's shared today by anyone here, that we respect it no matter what they believe, no matter what questions they have, that we can just hold that space so that we can create a really powerful transformation today? Everybody game with that? Yeah? 2 hands, thumbs up and big cheesy grin. Awesome. Cool. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be cool. If you guys were live, I'd say turn to the other person, give them a high five, but you're not. So you can just do it virtually. You're like in a 2-inch square. You can like feel the energy there of high fiving. If you're worried about COVID, just give them an I-5. Okay. So you can just like turn on your camera and give them an I-5. That's called an I-5. So either way, but we're all going to participate today, and it's going to be a blast. Okay, cool. Dowsing. Back to dowsing. Okay, so dowsing. Traditionally, I learned from my dad. I also learned from one of my mentors, Raymond Grace. He is an amazing dowser, and one of my opinions, one of the best on the planet. And I've learned a lot from him. I encourage you, get all of his books and CDs and everything. He's just awesome. He's one of those cowboys. He wears a hat, a pistol on his side, a knife, has a dog. And you wouldn't know that he's helped change the world through dowsing. Literally found missing people, changed how water sources happen, like so many miracles, and you wouldn't even think, right? So you can do that too. Every single person here, if you have a brain and a heart and a moving body, which we all should if you're watching this, then you can douse. Okay, you don't have to have the magical special gift. You can douse. Anybody can. Okay. All right. Very cool. Charles says Raymond's awesome. Yeah, I had some of his water today. Very cool. Yeah, super cool. Okay. What are we going to teach today? I want to teach here's some basics. I'm going to teach you how to clear ley lines specifically today. What is a ley line? A ley line is, if you're familiar with like meridian lines of the body, the earth has energy lines as well, and they're constantly in motion. People don't react very good to them. So when we're on a ley line, it causes anxiety. It makes us feel, it sucks our energy. Certain animals actually enjoy them and thrive off of them. Like cats, they can sleep on them and be like, great. And like ants follow ley lines, like all sorts of weird stuff. So ley lines are basically energy lines of the earth that are in constant motion. We do not react good to them. That's what we need to know today. Also, what we need to know today is that everything is energy. Everything. So question, is this pen energy? Yeah. Are my fingers energy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is $100 energy? Is $1 million energy?
A lot of energy.
Yeah, so everything has a different energy. That is important. Now, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but it can be what? Transferred, right? So if energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but it can be transferred, what we're doing, or transmuted, as some of the older wise people of Napoleon Hill's time would say, transmutation, we are taking one energy to one thing and changing it to another. Our bodies are energy, everything's energy, and energy can be impacted. So we're here to change energy, okay? If you change energy, you change in real life, because everything in real life is energy. Now, for those of you who might be worried about like energy work, well, what is not energy work? If you're walking and breathing and sleeping and eating, you're doing energy work, okay? If you give a high five, that's energy work. If you punch someone in the face, that's energy work. There's all sorts of different levels of energy work. We're going to learn how to do good, positive energy work today. Yeah? And work that changes us and makes a bigger impact on the planet. Cool? We game with that? Okay. All right. So dowsing. Couple basics. You got that. Energy is everything. We're working on changing energy. One of the downsides to dowsing. Well, before I do that, let me just share some stories. With dowsing, you can change a lot of things. So when I first learned dowsing, I thought, well, let's play with this. If everything's really energy, how about like the pancreas and how it works? And one time my wife, she just had some like pancreatic, right when we got married, she just started having severe pain, and she ate some sugar and it like had a bad reaction. And I was like, well, it's just energy. So all I did was scrambled the energy of that reaction And when it was done, it was done. And then I added it to function properly. And instantly pain went away and it stopped the stuff. And I thought, wow, that was super fast. Like that was like 2 minutes. That's cool. I like fast results and I like quick, right? Then I thought, well, does it work with other stuff? So I had a guy who was allergic to dogs, born allergic to dogs. And for those of you who know the abundance alignment technique, I teach that, which is very thorough. Yet you can do a lot with dowsing. So I thought, well, let's just try. And this is before I knew my technique. So I thought, well, hey, one of my friends, he was like, he couldn't even breathe in the room because someone had a dog and they still had some of the hair on them. And his throat starts to close up and he has to like go outside so he can breathe. And I thought, how long has this been going on? He's like, oh, I was just born this way. And I was like, well, do you want to change it? He's like, really? I was like, yeah, give me 5 minutes. Let's just change it. He's like, you can do that? I was like, I don't know. Let's try it. So we took it and we just scrambled all of the, and I'll show you how to do that in a second, but we scrambled all the negative energy, all the different parts that could be tied to an allergy, and then balanced it and added light, healing, ability to breathe around dogs. And then all of a sudden his throat, the swelling stopped. He could breathe. He went in and he's like, wow. And I talked to him, it's been 3 years and no symptoms around dogs whatsoever. So you can do it on a lot of stuff. I also had a friend of mine, one of my clients, he had a lot of debt and the IRS was going to come and take possession of a lot of his materials. So I thought, well, what is that? It's an energy. It's a frequency. So what if you just change it? Let's change it. So he scrambled it, turned it into prosperity. And what happened was super cool. They were going to pawn off a ton of the stuff to sell, to take like $26,000 of equities and stuff. And no one showed for the auction. No one. And this was like super rare. And the IRS didn't want to just keep his stuff. So he said, well, just keep it. You're basically just forgiven of your debts. And he was like, what the heck? Like, that was awesome. So you can do it on a lot of different things. I've also had a time where my car wasn't working and I thought, well, that's energy. So I scrambled the energy of it. And it was I thought it was like a screw that was loose. I don't know cars. And I drove a standard. So I was like, it seems like a bolt's loose. Every time I try to change my gears, it grinds. It's like, I'm like, that's probably expensive. And back then I didn't have a lot of money. So I was like, please change my car. And then I was like, I know how to change things. So then I thought, okay. And I went through my dowsing and about 20 minutes later and scrambled a bunch of stuff and then added things. And then it still grinded. And so I drove it to a mechanic. He lifted it up. And then sure enough, he told me like exactly what I had found through dowsing, which it was some bolt was loose and they were going to have to pull out the engine and redo the transmission. And it was more than my car was worth. And I was like, and I was checking and I was just asking, well, will this repair itself? And it was like, yes, it will. So like, okay, well, no, I don't need it. Thanks for your suggestion and your opinion. So we lowered it back and driving off, it stopped. And over a year, never had a problem with it. And it fixed itself. And I was like, what? That's so cool. Also, we've improved gas mileage. We've seen so many things with water. I've found lost cattle. We've found all sorts of stuff and done all sorts of things with dowsing. So dowsing's cool. Now, just some basics of dowsing. Okay. How many are familiar with like muscle testing? You like measuring, yes, no, okay. So some of you, if you're not, basically muscle testing, you can dowse or use a pendulum to muscle test as well. And I program it to say, okay, yes is going to give me a clockwise. No is going to give me a counterclockwise. Okay. Also, if you're scrambling something, it's going to spin counterclockwise. Okay. So if I'm taking an energy of something that's not ideal, on one of the things I had my brother hop on and he was like had sinus infection. So I don't know if you saw the video of me on my Facebook group, and we literally just scrambled it and his nose popped and everything was better. And he's like, what? I can go back to work. I was like, yeah, cool. Glad it worked. So you can scramble and it'll swing counterclockwise. When it's done, it'll stop. Okay. Now at first you might have to give it a little momentum, a little swing, just because you're probably not going to believe it. And you think it's like, oh, you're spinning it. But actually it's not. Like once you get it, your intention and energy spins it. And the energy that you're taking breaks down. So you're imagining it and you're breaking it down. And then when it's done, it'll stop or it'll go back into a neutral position. And then if you're adding, you can add whatever you want, like light, prosperity, hope, peace, healing, nutrition. It'll go clockwise and it'll spin clockwise. And you're intending it to do so. So again, it's not this. It's all your intention. So here's the downside to dowsing. People who tend to be in a victim state, or there's a lot of chemical stuff that they're just super imbalanced, they feel off, I find struggle dowsing because it's very much dependent upon the person facilitating it and receiving it. Now with the abundance alignment technique, not true. You could just do it and you could not believe it and it'll work, okay? But with dowsing, it's all about belief. And it comes down to a lot of the intention and focus that you put into it. So that's the toughest part about dowsing, is getting yourself in. I say that, but it's not really that hard. You just got to practice. Okay. Does that make sense? So this technique does matter how you feel a lot of times, but don't let that dissuade you. I don't want to share something and then you're like, oh man, now I can't do it. Well, that's just a belief. Don't believe that. Be like, Tyler, I don't believe you. I don't believe it's hard at all. And then you'll be right. It'll be really easy. Okay. So everybody just has their own belief. And we want to be in that state where you can change and do whatever based on who you are. Deal? Okay. All right. So here we go. Now, today, I'm not going to go into a lot of the dowsing, changing and things. I'm actually going to teach you specifically how to find and change ley lines. But I wanted you to have that context so that, like, when I talk about dowsing, there's a lot of different ways to douse. This is for your house. Okay. We're going to talk ley lines and energy in the house. Ley lines, again, are what? What are ley lines? You can unmute yourself and say it. So based on what I said, what are ley lines? Energy lines of the earth. Good.
They're like meridians in the body, except in the earth.
Perfect. Okay. And we don't react so good to them. For example, my stepmom, Joy, she's a naturopath. We used to live up on a mountain. They still do. I used to live with them. And she was doing all these therapies on herself because they work on themselves. But something was off. Every time she took her herbs and did all the machines and everything, it seemed like everything would get undone every day. And it was like something was fighting her progress. So my dad and I were like thinking about it. And he's like, I wonder if there's a ley line in the house. So he has, you walk into their bedroom and their bed. So if this is their bed, and you can check physically, like if you're in the room, you can check, and I'll show you how to do both, or you can check remotely and find where the ley lines are. We were there physical, so we checked physically. So we walk into the room and we ask, is there a ley line? Muscle testing, and we also have a pendulum, and we're just checking, okay, is there a ley line? Yes. Is there not a ley line? No. So I like to ask opposite questions. So is there a ley line? Yes. Is there not a ley line? No. Okay. Can we change it? Is it okay if we move the ley line? Yes. Okay, great. How many ley lines are there in the house? One. And so when you're doing numbers, if I'm going into a lot of stuff, but hopefully you guys can keep up. Okay, so when you're checking numbers, I always give me a yes indicator or go into a no once I get out of it. So it's like 1, 2. Okay, so it moved negative on 2. So 1, is there only one ley line? Is there more than one? No. Okay, great. So there's just one ley line. So we found that there was one ley line in the house. Then we wanted to know, where is it? Like, where is the ley line? So we say, as we're dowsing physically, so we're walking, and you can also do this with dowsing rods. You could say, cross when I get into the ley line, get out, open up when I don't have rods on me, but that would have been fun to show. You can do it with a pendulum. And I just say, okay, give me a negative when I step into a ley line. So if I walk, and then as soon as I step in, boom, it's going to go negative. Okay. And then if you step out, it's going to go positive and just straight back to neutral. Okay. So as soon as you go into it, so this is how you physically, if you're in your house, you can do it. It's fun. If you're also with someone else, people will go weak in a ley line. So I'll share another story. Just this happened last week here in a second. So with that, we found the ley line and it was pretty big. It went from, so the bed, right? Here's the bed here's where my dad sleeps. Here's where Joy sleeps. It started right in the middle, no joke. And I think people attract ley lines. It was only on her side of the bed and about 4 feet past her bed. And it was like perfectly in the middle of the bed. I was like, what? So my dad first checked it and he said, come in here and check this for me. And because we always like to double check so we're not influencing each other. So he checks it and he came up with that. And he didn't tell me, he's like, can you see if you're picking up the same thing? And I go on, I'm like, this is so weird. Like the ley line is literally in the middle of your bed and like 3 or 4 feet off. That's what I'm picking up. And he's like, that's what I got. I was like, maybe that's why she's been sick and it's been undoing her stuff. So we moved it, which I'll share with you how to do in a second. And that night she slept better. Ever since then, all the herbs started working for her. Her treatment started to hold and it didn't undo all the work she was doing. So it made a huge difference for her. Some people are a lot more susceptible to ley lines. My wife being one, Joy, she is too. Like I'm pretty ignorant on them. Like I'll be sleeping on them all day and I'll be like, I don't care. Like, but then my wife, she's like, something's wrong. I feel the energy. And I'm like, you're just making it up. And then finally, like I get in tune and I'm like, whoa, okay, there's something bad here. We need to change this. Like, I think I've just been blessed with the gift to be okay in really bad stuff. I'm just like, okay, I can be okay. No effect. But some people are super sensitive, way sensitive. So after you change it, it's huge. Also, if you ever see those buildings where they become a massage parlor and then a tattoo shop, and then 3 weeks later they're a little weird restaurant, and then like a month later it becomes a tattoo place, and then you ever see those that just all the time rotate and never really thrive? More often than not, it's because there's a huge ley line on them. So like the buildings that don't work very good, a lot of times there's a big ley line. It's just a negative energy. There was a person trying to sell their house in Florida years ago, and it had 3 ley lines through it, and it hadn't sold for over 1.5 years. So my dad, he moved the ley lines. You can do it remote, and within 2 weeks it sold, and it was a multi-million-dollar house. So it can help a lot to change ley lines. Another instance, there was a couple, they were agitated, and this had been going on for like 5 years. They just all the time, mad, like nag, so much so that they wanted to get a divorce, and they were going to my dad's clinic, and he was trying to help them, and nothing was really lasting and sticking. And he's like, let's check your house. So they checked it, and sure enough, right through their front door into their bedroom was a giant ley line. And he had the guy stand there and tell him how he felt. And he's like, I feel agitated. So he's like, okay, let's move it. Now, how do you feel? And he's like, what did you do? It was as if a whole just burden left the house. And he said they actually started getting along. Like a lot of things changed. Like it probably saved their marriage. No joke. Like they were so agitated all the time at each other. Okay. So that worked. And it's not like feng shui. No, this is just, you could have horrible feng shui and still you could have really great feng shui, but if you have a ley line, it's still going to affect you. So it's not how things, it's just an energy line that is in the house and you can move it. And I'm going to show you here in a second. Last story. Last week, my wife couldn't sleep. And I was really like, just go to sleep. I'm like, just sleep. She's like, Tyler, I can't sleep. And it's been like this for 2 weeks. And I'm like, it's because we had a baby and we're moving. And I'm like, you're just worried. Let's just align. You'll be fine. And she's like, I feel like there's something more than that. I'm like, there's probably not. And I'm sleeping fine. She's like, will you just check? Will you just check for me? And I'm like, you check. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll check. So I checked. And sure enough, there was a huge ley line going right through our bed and in the bed of the people who live downstairs, which she had said she felt really agitated and couldn't sleep too. And so I moved it and like instantly relief. She slept better that night than she had in almost a month. And I thought, I need to remember my own stuff sometimes. So don't judge. You can change things. Okay. Carlin asked, do they come back? They can. And actually the earth is changing so fast now, they tend to come back a lot quicker. In the past, you could move it. It'd be gone usually for like a year or more and it wouldn't come back. I've seen it come back as quick as like 3 weeks now, just because of how so many tectonic plates are moving and micro earthquakes. Every time that happens, they can change. So it's good to check your house periodically. I like to try to believe that I don't have to check it that often until my wife tells me to. And then I'm like, okay, so I have to remember that. Can you move ley lines on their behalf without them knowing? Yeah, I'm going to show you how to move them right now. Cool. So are you guys excited to learn how to move some ley lines? Yeah?
Yes.
Sweet. Okay. So here's how I do it. This is just one way to do it. For this, you need a pen and paper. Okay. I've tried this just energetically. I've tried to just scramble it. I've tried to align myself to where it doesn't, to where it moves when I move. I've tried a lot of things. This just works the best for me. You could try other things, but this tends to work really good for me. Okay. So here's what you do. You take a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. I'm going to see if you can see then you're going to draw your house, but first you're going to do north, south, and then, oh my goodness, west, east, east, west. Okay. So you got north, south, east, west, and then you're going to draw your house. So like for me, my house is, so if I go, let's see, here's north. Yeah. So then here, so my house would be drawn like this. So here's my front door. And then I'm going to just draw like an outline of my house. Okay. As big as possible. And I'm going to put some rooms. So here's like my front room, bedroom. Let's see if you can see that. Bedroom, and then maybe the garage, the living room, another living room, some stairs here. So just enough to give you a little bit of a scale. Okay. So once you have your house in place, I like to ask the question, first off, are there any ley lines? And you can muscle test or Dowse, use the pendulum to check. So regarding my house, are there any ley lines? And the answer is no, because I moved it. But last week it said yes. So if it says yes, you can even muscle test. Are there any ley lines in my house? And it'll either go strong or weak. If it goes strong, that means a yes. If it goes weak, it'll be a no. For those of you who don't know muscle testing and don't get stuck on this part, because it does take practice, the muscle test and stuff, and that's okay. Just if you get stuck on that, just know that you can practice and get good at it. Okay. And there's courses and free stuff out there, and I have stuff, and so you don't have to struggle on that. So now and it doesn't matter the levels, okay? Because how the lines work, if it's here, it's all on all levels, right? So it doesn't matter how many tiers your house has. It just matters like the foundation. That's what I look at, is just the foundation of the house. Okay. So the outline of the house. I also like to ask, how many are there? I might say, is there one? Yes. Is there more than one? Is there one? Is there two? Two? So you might check. You can do that with a pendulum. Give me a yes on the correct answer. So it's like, is there one? No. Is there two? Yes. Okay. So you might say, oh, there's two. Or is there one? Is there two? Two. Okay. And I like to angle it to match. It doesn't have to be perfectly to scale, but north, west, east, and south, it just makes it easier to move the lines when it's this way. Okay. Because you don't need to check for diagonal lines. It's just like straight, either northwest or south. And these are how I find them. So just either you're going to go west and south, or north and south, or east and west. Okay. Can there be a lot of them? I asked and got over 5 for my house. Maybe. Usually there's not. I've never seen one with 5. That would be kind of intense, but maybe there are. You know, the most I've ever seen had 3, but you could have a house that's like a vortex of stuff. So I don't know. I've never seen more than 3 or 4, but yeah. Okay. And Kali says, can you accidentally bring bad energy in while you're trying to get rid of the old energy from the ley line? So I would say that's probably based on a belief system, that if you've tried to get rid of negative things, that you attract negative things into your life. So that would be something you could either align or scramble that energy of any negative energy to say, hey, when I work on myself and try to do good things, that only good things happen. Okay. So that's just a decision and a belief that you've had, and that's why it probably comes up. Okay. So check how many. So let's say I find that there's 2 ley lines. Okay. So now I'm going to check the direction, or which way they go. So I'm going to say, okay, is there a ley line going west to north, or west to east, or east to west? So either way, but it's going on this plane. Okay. And if it is, then I'll get a yes. So I'll say, cool. So there's one that way. Is there one going north to south, or south to north? No. Okay, great. So are both of them going in this direction? Are both of them going west to east, or east to west? Yes. Great. So I know 2 ley lines going in this direction. Okay. So that means there's 2 lines that are going this way. Make sense so far, everybody? And this is kind of a how-to. So this isn't usually like a beginning type webinar, but hopefully everybody's picking up on it. Okay. Leah says, I tested and got 15 ley lines. Probably not ley lines. Yeah, I would not think there'd be 15. And you can have electrical stuff and also water lines. Those are not ley lines. So, but hey, if you have 15, then maybe. I don't know. I've never heard of it, but that would be intense. But hey, it give you good practice. If you believe there's 15 and you map out 15, then cool, change all 15. And it'll probably make a world of difference in your house. That would be intense to have 15 lines. Okay, so now I'm going to find this, and now I'm going to check where it's at. So this is the point where with your finger, so I know that they're going this way, right? So if they're going this way, that means I want to know how wide they are. How big is it? Okay. So I want a starting point and an ending point. I want a start and an end. So if I'm going to go through this, I'm going to check and say, okay, give me a negative when my finger crosses into the ley line. and I'm going to slowly inch my way. And as soon as it would get to the line, oh, boom, it's going to start spinning counterclockwise. So I'm going to mark it. So now I know there's a ley line, and I'm going to mark it all the way down right there. That's the start of a ley line. So then I'm going to just double check, and I say, give me a positive if I get out. So I'm going to go in. It's going to give me a negative. As soon as I go out, it's going to give me a positive. Good. So then I'm going to go negative, and then I'm going to keep going until it gives me a positive. So if I keep moving, it's still negative, still negative. Oh, boom, switched right there. So now I would mark that as the end point. So then I'd make some lines like this. And then I'd make some scribbles. So boom, there's one ley line. Okay, sometimes they're small, sometimes they're big. Then I would do the same for the other one. So then I'd say, okay, give me a negative when I enter into the ley line. So I'd go down, go down, go down, check, 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 check. Boom. So let's say it's right there. Okay, so then I'd make it X. And I go all the way up. And again, if you're new to dowsing, don't let this overwhelm you. This is more of an advanced technique, but I want you to know how to do it so that you're aware of it and you can learn and grow into it. Okay. All right. Then you can say, give me a positive when I get out of it. So if here and then, oh, boom, right there. So it's literally maybe just that it's a small one. Okay. That's how to find the ley lines. Okay, so everybody clear so far on how to find them. Questions on how to find the ley lines. Want to make sure that that part's clear. I know I kind of went kind of fast, but is any questions about finding the ley lines?
So if it's a ley line, it'll automatically spin counterclockwise if it's a ley line?
Yeah, you have to tell it. So you're dowsing, you have to program and say, give me a negative when I enter into the ley line. And then now if you're muscle testing, like if I was in someone's house doing it physically, I actually like to just have somebody with me and hold out their arm and push, okay, walk a step, push, walk a step, push, walk a step. As soon as you get into the ley line, they'll go weak and they can't hold their arm up. Then you keep walking till their arm goes up. Boom. Oh, so it's that wide. So that's how you can do it physically on someone. Or you can walk it and say, okay, give me a negative when I walk past or into the ley line. And you're walking, boom. Got it. If you use rods, you can do the same thing. So you'll program it to cross when you get in the ley line. So you'll walk, boom. Cross, uncross, cross, uncross. So it's right here as the start. Okay. Yes, at first, Linda, you do have to teach your pendulum what a yes or no is. Yeah. If you're new to it, you got to program it. Train your pendulum, train your dragon, right? Like the movie. You gotta train your pendulum. So overall, most people, it'll go clockwise to add, clockwise for yes, counterclockwise for no, scrambling, counterclockwise. Okay. And so negative, when I get into a negative, counterclockwise. When I get into a positive, clockwise. Okay. But that does take some practice, and you can do a lot of things to practice, and I can share with you ways to do that. But good question. Other questions on finding the ley lines? Because you're specifically looking for ley lines. We're not looking for electrical or water, which I can, how to change water lines. You can actually do the same process to find them. I'll share a story where there was 3 water lines and like 3 or 4 ley lines in a house. And it was messed up. Like they were so sick all the time, like all their kids. It was horrible. And my dad and I went out there, since it was local. We just walked the property checking. We found 3 underground water lines, which those will mess your energy up too. And then we found 3 or 4 ley lines, and they were all like interweaving and crossing, causing all sorts of havoc. Their kids couldn't hardly eat anything without having allergic reactions. They couldn't take any pills. Nothing they were doing was working. Once we changed it, everybody slept and all their stuff worked. Like everything that they started to take started to work for them. So it was amazing. Linda says, will the ley lines from parents' house follow you as you grow up and move away? I don't think so. I've never thought of that, but there's so many ley lines. Like imagine the earth, there's millions of lines everywhere crossing. So you move to one place, that line, the whole tectonic plate would have to like shift pretty drastically for that exact line to come and follow you, unless you're like longitudinal or latitudinal on the same line. Okay. Yeah, good questions. Okay, so now we know how to find them.
Tyler?
Yes.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay. No. Okay, so instead of give me negative, can I say give me positive?
For what?
Change. When you find that ley line, where the ley line?
You
This-
could. It messes with my thinking when you do that, but yeah. So you could say, give me a positive when I go into it. And you could probably program it to give you a positive when you go into it. Yeah. But that's like, yeah, it's like, it messes with my thinking. So yeah.
Okay.
I always do negative, negative, positive, positive.
Okay.
I have a really quick question, Tyler.
Yeah, go for it.
I was checking to see ley lines in my house and 3 came up and and then it was 2 west to east and 1 north to south. But then when I went checking through the diagram, it just wouldn't show me.
Okay.
It just,
So that can be tough. So you gotta really tune into this part. So when you're checking, here's how you get into a state to measure. Okay. You have to be not tied to the outcome. That's the first part of dowsing. So I'm not tied to it, whether it's for my benefit or not. I'm just not tied to the outcome. So then you know that there's 3. So you know it has to give you a negative sometime. So I go nice and slow. So when I'm first doing it, and it takes a little practice, like you got to tune into, it's tuning into a whole different frequency here. So you got to be really pretty aware and alert. So I'm going to check and I'm going to say, okay, give me, and you're making the command. You're tuning into it and saying, give me the answer. Like this is something you have to command it to do. So as I move forward, I'm going to say, give me the negative when I enter in to it. Give me the negative. Boom. So then it'll start going. And then I just go back out just to double check. Go in again. Boom. Okay. So yeah, that's negative, 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 and then boom, it's going to switch again. Okay. So this does take some practice. And you have to trust yourself. Okay. So trust that you're getting the right answer. Trust yourself. Trust your ability to tune in. Trust that you can do this because anybody can. Okay. It's just listening and feeling and training yourself to tune in. Okay. Like I said, this is more of an advanced way. Usually I teach people first to scramble and add stuff. This is a little bit more advanced to change because you have to measure, pinpoint where it's at. It's pretty in depth, but I believe you guys can all do it.
so when you get in tune, and you're tuning in more, just like sometimes with muscle testing, where you sometimes have to clear yourself, sometimes you have to clear your circuits
Drink some
to
water.
read. Is that appropriate? Is that appropriate here too?
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. If I'm feeling off, like if I eat a really heavy meal, I'm not very good at dowsing. I'm more of a, oh man, I just want to go to sleep. So I don't usually douse when I'm like super like drained, because that's the hard part about dowsing, because it does take a little bit more effort and focus and energy. As you practice, it takes less effort, less energy. So now I can be kind of like not even in tune and still douse pretty well and still get good results. But some people can't. So that's why it's works for some, works for not for others. It does take practice. Okay, and we're all here to what? Practice, practice. Do you have to be perfect at this? No, just have to practice and you'll get better. So, and I suggest don't worry so much about being right or wrong at first. If you get the answer, trust the answer. Even if you're like 15 ley lines, just go with it. Why not? Because I'd rather you believe that you're right and intentionally shift it, because that'll work. I bet it will. Even if I was dowsing and I'm like, I only pick up 2, but I guarantee if you believe it and then shift it, those 2 would probably move. So I don't care whether you're right or wrong. I would prefer you to be more confident than right or wrong. Because if you start to second guess yourself, that has a negative frequency that's going to counter how you do things. So I'd rather you be gleefully, confidently, absolutely wrong than totally doubting and so unsure and actually right. I would, because there's more power in the actual confidence in and of itself than the right or the wrong. Okay. And that goes with muscle testing or with dowsing. And as you get better and better to trust yourself, you'll get more accurate and you'll get to where you'll be right 95 to 99% of the time. At first, you might be 50-50. You might be 30-70, like you're just wrong 70% of the time. But as you get better and better and better, then you'll be able to tune in and actually help people more. Okay, so Jolyn, how do you shift the ley lines? Good question. Okay, you guys ready to shift? All right, let's go to shifting them. Shifting them is super fun. This is my favorite thing about this. Two ways to do it. You can do it manually. Okay, we've done it manually. Manual did tend to last longer, but it's also a lot of work. So here's how we did it manually. At my dad's property, before Joy had her episode, we moved them before. So we go out to the spot on the property where it is, and we drove a rebar wire into the dirt. And then we took a huge hammer and whacked the crap out of it in the direction that it was supposed to move. That's how we change it physically. And you just keep hitting it until it's moved far enough away. And then you can stake it to even keep it from coming back. So that's how you do it manually. A lot of work that way. Energetically, you get about the same result. So you might as well just do it energetically. We've tested it. You might have to do it a couple extra times, but it works. So here's how you do it energetically. Stake where you moved it to. No. So like, let's say the energy, let's say physically, if this was my house, then I would go outside of my house in the dirt, right where it starts or right in the middle of it, and I would drive a stake. Okay, because this line goes all the way. Like it keeps going. It's a long line. So it goes like it's a whole line around the earth. So it's like it's really far. So it keeps going. So it's not just like a little piece. It just keeps extending for a long time. So it's a whole line, like a meridian line. Okay. So then with this, you stake it in the middle, and we drove a stake, and then we took a big old mallet and the mode of direction of correction. So you have to first ask, what is the direction of correction for this? Does it need to be moved? So this one, does it need to be moved north or does it need to be moved south? So we need to ask that. So for the good of all involved, including my neighbors, for me to move this here, would it be more prudent to go north? So it's going to say, so if it goes that way, then it's like, no. Okay. Do I need to move it south? Okay. Yeah. So then this one, I'd know needs to go that way. This one, I need to check too. Okay. For this one, does it need to go north? No. Does it need to go south? Yeah. Okay, cool. So they both need to go the same direction. Good. So now I know the direction of correction. Okay. So if I was doing it physically, this is what my dad and I did. we literally went out, nailed a big O stake, like a big rebar wire, took a big hammer and whack, 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 and just kept hitting it over and over and over and over and over and over. Then we'd pull the stake up, see where it moved. Oh, now it's here. Okay, drill the stake again, whack, 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 whack. And we just kept moving it until it was far enough off the property line where we didn't want it anymore. And we just drove the stake and left it there. So that's one way, the more arduous way to do it. The simpler way is kind of like what I just did. So this is how you do it. You put your pencil on your paper. And I know this might seem weird, but it works. So you put it in the middle of it, and I'm going to flick. So while I'm intending, imagining that this is the stake, physical, into the energy line, and I'm going to imagine it every time I flick it, that it is shifting in the direction that needs to be shifted. Now, for ley lines, usually you don't have to check which one needs moved first, but you might check that. With water lines, you do. A lot of times they need to be moved in a certain order with water lines. And the same method to find water lines, you can do this, okay? Same way to move them. But with water lines, they do usually have an order if there's more than one involved. Because if you put one on the other, then it affects it, and then it like can make it worse. So you want to make sure you move it in the order that they need.
So, Tyler, a quick question.
Yeah.
Since you're suggesting you're moving one of the ley lines,
Yep.
As a thumb rule, is it ideal to push it outside the home, as in the foundation layer?
Yeah.
Is that
So like,
the direction?
yeah. So if I'm going to move this, I want to get it completely out of my house all the way.
Mhm.
So for my wife last week, it was actually right here. So we had a long way for it to travel. So I just kept, and I pushed down pretty hard, and I'm focused with a lot of intention, shifting, and I keep shifting it. All the way off. And I'm going to recheck it. Sometimes when I do it like that, it's usually done. In the past, when I first started, I'd like intend it and I'd move it all the way over, and then I'd check it and it moved like right here. And I was like, oh man. So then I had to move it a little bit more, and then move it again and move it again until I got better with my intention to move it really quick. Okay.
Got it.
So yeah, then you'll just measure it again and check. Okay, is it give me a negative? Oh, nothing. Perfect. I moved it. It's gone. And then you can ask, is there a ley line in the house? Yes or no. So to always double check at the end, right? Is it moved? Okay. So then you do the other one too. Move it. You might have to move it a couple times, like put it back in the middle, move it. And then I like to stake it and actually put like 3 things around my house to imagine that those stakes are being there to protect it from coming back. Okay. That's how you move them. Seems kind of simple and like odd, but it works so good. And I could tell you testimonial after testimonial after testimonial after testimonial. So I did that. It takes, at first it might take an hour for you to get into the checking if you're not used to checking or muscle testing or dowsing. But once you get good at this, like 10, 20 minutes, boom, done, right? And you can shift something that could be making a really negative effect on you and help shift that energy, help just get rid of that, because it doesn't help anybody. Is this cool? Is this helping? Is this exciting for you guys? Yeah.
It is.
Cool. Bob asked, do I have a business that does this for others? I do. I teach a whole technique different than this. I like to do this sometimes for my clients or in my sessions. I always like to check that anyway. Just because if you're like working with somebody, you want to make sure that their ley lines are out. Sometimes I forget though, unless we like, now I'm like, oh, I have clients I should probably check that for, because it'd be good to check. So yeah, I thought ley lines are straight. Does that mean now that they have curved when we move them? So look, if you move it, it's going north to west still, but now it's down. So you've moved it. Okay. And they're not perfectly straight. There'll be different angles and stuff, but for my brain, for me to believe it, I am very just like, okay, I'm only checking this. If it's off, I know that all I will get like this straight for me. If you get too much into it, then your mind might be complicated. So just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Okay. Good questions. What happens if you get the ley line out of your house, but then it's bad for the neighbor? Yeah. Well, funny story about that. So one time we had a neighbor and they were partying all the time and they were like on drugs, and we're like, man, we really would like to have that neighbor leave. So we did some dowsing and we scrambled all the energy, and no joke, 2 weeks later they moved. Like they just left. And we're like, sweet. And an awesome family moved in. It was like perfect, united with our energy of what we wanted. And it was amazing. Even moving here, we had a whole family that lived next to us, and I forgot about doing that. And they had been there for a long time. And I was like, man, and they smoked all the time, and it had all this negative energy and partied and did all these things. I was like, we don't want that around us. We want our life to be filled with light, love, and prosperity all the time. So we've been with them for almost 2 years, and they'd lived there for 18 years. And I was like, I wonder, it like hit me. I was like, I wonder if I just scrambled all their energy and like did it to get them to move. And they moved a month later, and I was like, what? I was like, that's so crazy. So you have a lot of influence on your world. So if something's not ideal in your world, you can change it. You can scramble it. You can shift it. You have a lot more influence than you believe. And what you believe is probably right. Charles says, did you have permission to scramble that energy? Yeah, so that's a good question. Did they have permission to just bleed their negative energy on us? So they didn't ask our permission, so we don't ask their permission to do good. So people don't ask permission to do bad stuff. I don't ask permission to do good stuff. I just do it. Okay. So too often when we do good things, why do we always have to worry about permission? But everybody who does bad things, I've never seen anyone who's done anything negative in their life ever ask permission first. They just do it. Like, can I ask you permission to steal your money? Can I ask you permission to just be really mean to you and hurt you and make your life miserable? Nobody does that. So do we need to ask permission to others to say, hey, can I have permission to just send you a lot of light, a lot of love, a lot of transformation, a lot of prosperity, a lot of good? I think if we actually just did it without the worries about it, and I know why that's there, like the permission thing. Here's how I do it. I just ask, regarding this situation, may I, can I, should I? And if it gives me a yes on all three, then I'm good to go. So it's like, hey, may I, can I, should I regarding this neighbor? Any reason not to? So may I, can I, should I? Yes, yes, yes. Any reason not to? No. Good. I'm good to go. Let's do it. Let's change it. Okay, that's the permission piece. I'm at the point now where I usually don't even do that unless it's checking like genders for babies and like things that are a little bit more personal or things that are like super important. Then I like to ask permission just because I believe it's nice to do that. Yeah, Julian says spirit will tell you and you need to ask permission. Yeah, if you feel resistant, then just ask permission. Good neighbors are moving soon. It's necessary to scramble or just douse for light, love, and peaceful energy move in. Yeah, so you could scramble any and all negative energies, frequencies, feelings tied to the house, tied to the even the concrete and where they park, the road, the neighborhood. Scramble all that. So every time we move somewhere, we do that. I'll do a whole nother video when we move to our new house, how we do a whole home clearing. So we do a whole house clearing, like when we're in the house, moving into a house, and we move stuff from the walls, the carpets, the floors, like everything. So, and it's very in depth. So it's like a 30, 40-minute clearing of just scrambling all the junk that could be there. In our previous house that I lived, one of the houses that I'd cleared for a client, I moved the ley lines, but they still had some weird stuff going on. And their kids were always addicted. Like they had a lot of addiction. And it was like a feeling of violence. So that there was a feeling of violence that permeated in the house. So I thought, well, let's check some other energies here in the house. And it turned out that the previous owners, the previous owners and the previous ones before that, as they were gutting the house, there was an energy of like abuse. So when they destroyed the house to remodel it, I'm going to mute everybody so the dog won't bother everybody. So when they remodeled it, that energy was in the walls. It was in everything, in the foundation. So everything has an energy. So you can put positive energy into anything. You can also find that energy is in places. Anytime I do events, I do a whole room clearing. Anytime I teach somewhere, I go somewhere. Anytime we go sleep in a hotel, we do a mass clearing of the hotel and where we sleep and the energy of the room and everything. Because I know that everything has an energy. And where I go, I want it to be the best possible for us to sleep, for us to be in a good, safe place for my family. And sometimes, honestly, I don't want to do it because I'm like tired and I'm like, oh, but it's, so I'm not perfect. My perfect soul says everywhere I go, I should do that. My natural soul says, man, I'm really tired tonight. I'll sleep fine. Who cares about everybody else? I'll just go to sleep. So I'm still improving. I'm still working on that. But most every time we go somewhere, I try to change the energy of the room and where we go. Yeah.
So what do you say?
That's probably for another time because it is a longer thing. So I'll do another training for a mass clearing on a house or like a location because there's a lot of stuff. But basically, the gist of it is you just tune into the house. So like, let's say I want to scramble my house. Well, let's just do it for everybody here. Okay. So regarding everybody who's watching or on the replay, may we, can we, should we regarding their house? Any reason not to? Okay, great. So we can. All right. So we're going to scramble any and all negative energies, any frequencies, any spirit of doubt or hatred that might be permeating within the walls, the floors, the appliances. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to tune into the collective, and it's a lot of energy right here. So when it changes, when it's done, it'll just stop, okay, for those pieces. So there it goes. So we shifted that. So now we're going to go ahead and change. We're going to scramble any and all feelings of guilt or shame or frustration within the house itself from any of the residents therein. We're also going to scramble the doubt of healing, the victimhood archetype that might be trapped or keeping someone stuck. Oh yeah, you can do rodents too. You can do like wasps. We've done it on my dad. We had a whole bunch of wasps, and my dad basically just doused and then did a command, like commanded them to leave, and they did. They like never returned. And so my command is more of take wasp spray and kill them. But my dad's a little nicer sometimes with bugs. I'm just like, die. So he's like, let's send the energy and love to them. And I'm like, let's send the death spray to them. So yeah, so all right, we're gonna keep scrambling here for a second. We're also just gonna scramble any and all feelings of poverty, feeling of being stuck, any addicted behaviors, any lusts. We're going to scramble any damaging words that may have been spoken within the home. Also, any violence or anger. We're also just going to scramble any sorrow or any feelings of agitation due to any movements of the earth, feeling hurt or feeling broken. Good. So the list can go on. And when I do a whole clearing, I just tune into the house itself. And I've done it enough times that you can kind of tune into exactly what's in each house. So that's kind of how you do it. And then, so we just broke down a lot of that energy. So now what we can do is we can add. So now we're going to take all that energy, right? We're not destroying or we're creating, we're just transferring. So all that energy is broken down. Now we're going to transfer it into your home with the spirit of love, spirit of forgiveness, light, healing, willingness to change, good. We're also going to add prosperity, ease, and creativity and fun. So some of you will feel pretty significant shifts just doing this. Some of you might not feel anything. And the more you receive it and envision that and really tune into it, the more it'll work for you. And if you believe it works, you're probably right. And if you believe it doesn't, you're probably right. Very good. So I'm curious, who felt something? And let's just open this up for a couple comments. What are you experiencing, even learning the ley line shifts and what we just did? I'd like to just get some feedback, what you guys are experiencing. We did dive in to this. I didn't give a whole lot of this wasn't like a beginner, here's the beginning basics. We're just let's dive in. So I'm curious to see how this was received with you all.
With this process that we just did and the dowsing that we just did, I just felt this massive shift. And as you were doing clearing, I was also working with my pendulum. And when you said tuning into the house, there were a few things you didn't say that definitely came up. And it was pretty amazing because all of a sudden it was like, ooh,
Yeah,
this shifted. And I have one of my cats and my dog near me, and they both, the same time I felt it, they both were sleeping. They both looked up at me like, what just happened?
that's cool.
So
I'm
that was pretty
also,
cool.
just from what you said, we're scrambling the spirit of death
Mm-hmm.
right now from the house or surrounding houses around you.
Thank you.
Also the spirit of disease, we're going to scramble as well. Good. Now we're going to add the spirit of life and the spirit of health. And the spirit of something is a permeating deeper than just the thing itself. Very good. Okay. Very cool. So let's get a couple other shares.
Hi, Tyler. For me, it was amazing because I've had so many issues with this house where it doesn't allow people in at all. Like workers will come, do a couple of things, and then they disappear. But it's been happening for like a year, and I felt when you said spirit of death, when I did it as we were doing the process, I felt there's like a lot of trapped energy in here, or was, but I felt it completely shift.
Wow. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Way to go. Virtual round of applause to all these shares. Super cool.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Question. I've been in this house now for about 15 years and I just decided I'm going to move. Well, all of a sudden, in these past, soon as I decided to move, weird things have been happening. The door knob broke, the window won't open, and I'm like, all right, this is not a mistake. Then all of a sudden, the outlet decides to spark, and now I can't use it. Like it's just weird. Like all of a sudden, the closer I get to moving out, the more weird things are breaking down in the house.
Yeah. So I would scramble the ability to let go and things to move forward without resistance. So it sounds like holding on. So I would even scramble the energy of holding on, like the house is trying to hold on, break down to show you that you can't leave. And that, scramble that. And then add forgiveness, light, moving forward, letting go, moving on. And
Now,
that'll be a big one.
when you scramble, right? Do you make it turn to the left, and then when you
at first, yeah,
right?
at first you might. So like for me, I just give it a swing, state all the negatives, and it starts to swing by itself. When you're just doing it, just give it a swing and intend it to stop when it's done. Okay. And it'll go fast, it'll go slow. Dowsing's really cool. My dad, when he was checking energy frequencies of where to move and he was dowsing and checking, he went to, so we found this mountain, right? And there was a shell of a house. There wasn't even a house. It was just a foundation. So he goes up to the foundation and he's just checking energy, because you can also measure how much energy is in a certain place. That's another topic for another day. That's a little bit more advanced. But as he was in there, it started spinning so fast, and it's only happened one time in his life. It shot out of his hand and the pendulum stuck in the foundation of the wall, and it freaked him out. He like got scared because he was new to dowsing. He was like, what the heck? He's like, what is in here? But it was because that property had such a vibration, such an energy to it. Native Americans lived there. It had the healing water. We had someone come up and test the water. We also had shamans come and check. And they said out of all the water they've ever checked, it's one of the highest frequencies they've ever seen. So very, very high powered energies there. We've seen so many cool things that have happened, and so many people can help get helped. And so it's awesome. So yeah, every place has an energy. My mother-in-law's house, I was sleeping there. Again, I sleep through anything. Other people have a little trouble, but down in the basement was always this like weird thing. And one room always like super weird. So I had cleared ley lines, I had done stuff, and it felt a little bit better, but still that one room just felt really weird and off, and no one could sleep very good in it. So finally, somebody was like, Tyler, can you just like really check it? Like really check it? Because sometimes I don't really check it. I just like kind of check it because I'm lazy. But he's like, can you just figure this out? So I was like, okay, I put on my, okay, I'm doing this for real. We're not coming out till it's solved cap. So I go into the room and I'm like, like I've slept there and everything. And I'm like, man, there's something messed up here. Like there is a weird energy. And I've been there forever and like slept there and done stuff. And it's just a lot of times I'm just not aware of that until I listen. So I go into the room, I go into the other room and I'm just checking it, and you can tune into any frequency. And I'm like, what is this? This is something I haven't seen before. And it turned up, there was, it was like death, but it was an angry death energy. So I checked and I was like, okay, is this someone, and it was a human and a cat. And I was like, what is this, like this weird energy? So I was checking and it turned up that someone had died and been buried there long ago, years before the house was even put there. And there was a dead person with their animal cat, like their dead cat, buried in the same spot right where that room was. And is this okay if I tell this? This is kind of deep stuff, but is this all right if I share all this stuff? You guys aren't like too weirded out by all this? Okay, cool. Some people might be like, this is so weird. Everything's energy, right? And so I just like, that's what I found. And once I changed it, it worked. So I go in the room and I'm like, holy crap, like this is really weird. And it was really angry. So Nathan, my brother-in-law, he had the most trouble sleeping there than anybody. Unbeknownst to me, that was his room growing up. So I was checking it and the entity was super mad and angry at him for sleeping on his grave, like the whole time. And it was like, what? Like for real? Like, are you serious? And I didn't know. And when I cleared it all and told them, they had said, even in their dreams, they dreamt of a cat that was like being anxious. And I was like, oh, well, I picked up on a dead cat. So we cleared it. And I was like, dead person too. And asked permission, see if there was anything to rectify. We scrambled the negative energy. And then Nathan had to do something specific for him to make amends with that energy. And guess what? After that, like the room went peaceful, everything changed. They'd even done blessings on the house, all sorts of stuff, but we needed to get very specific and address it very specifically. So there's all sorts of stuff that can affect our houses and ourselves. And the more open you are to just seeing what it is without judging it, the more you'll tune into the real frequency. So for me, I wasn't attached. I was like, I don't know what's here. And I was really surprised. I was like, something's dead here. Like, what the heck? I've never dealt with this in a house. Like somebody's dead and their cat, like what? And they're all their personal belongings. I was like, it messed up energy. So as you tune into it, everything has a different frequency. Poverty has a very specific frequency. People who stay sick all the time, very specific frequency. People who move fast, who attain results, it's a different frequency. So everything has a frequency, and the more you can believe that you can change something, the more you will be able to change something. If you believe that you're unable to change, you're probably right, and that belief is holding it in place, keeping you bound by the very thoughts and emotions that you have created and chosen to believe. Or you can choose to use whatever method, dowsing, abundance alignment technique. There's a million techniques out there to change. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want, right? We want to change. We want to have better health. We want to improve our relationships. We want to have more money. Yeah? True? Turn to the next person next to you. Give them a high five. Yes. Sweet. Okay. Let's open this up for questions. By the way, at the end of this, I did want to mention, for those of you who are interested, we are doing a certification. And for those of you who want the details on that, I can stay on, talk about that, share the bonuses. I'll be teaching a whole thing on dowsing during the certification in depth from like beginning to end. It's going to be like a whole day training. So it's going to be an intensive. And that's part of the certification. The other part of the certification is the alignment technique. It's to get certified to teach the technique. So we have already 5 people out of 15. So we only have spots for 10 left. So if you are wanting information on that, you can stick around. I'll share like 15, 20 minutes on that about what to do, how to make money, how to change anything through getting certified. So anyone interested, if I go over those details here after we take some questions, is anybody interested in learning some of the details? Okay, cool. So I'll do that here in a second. I just want to make sure we have a closed loop on the dowsing piece. Any other questions? I know you probably have a lot because there's tons to teach on dowsing, but any other questions of what we taught on moving ley lines or the simple shifts that we talked about?
I have a couple.
Go ahead. We'll start with Baylin and then go to the next.
Thank you, Tyler. Sorry.
Go for it.
So I live in an apartment building, and the apartment underneath me, the people always argue. Can they attract it back even if I move it? Or like, am I safe once I do my work?
Yeah, good question. What do you think, Baylin?
Well, I would like to think I can bubble myself and keep my energy secure. But if it's energy and they can attract it as well, then I'm not sure.
So which energy will win?
I would hope the positive.
Whichever is greater.
Yeah.
So if you have more energy putting in than their negative, then their negative will not triumph.
Okay.
Okay.
So, because I hear them arguing all the time, but
Yeah.
normally it doesn't affect me. Because
So
I'm like,
here's
I tell myself, like,
yeah.
oh, don't listen to that.
We're-
Like, that's just like the
Yep.
TV.
So my wife and I first lived in an apartment. We rented for $650 a month. Okay. When we didn't have like any money, and you could hear everybody down below you and across from you. And it was amazing. It was awesome. So, it attracted not the highest quality people, just saying. So what we did, we scrambled all the negative energy, and that is the spirit of contention. You'll want to scramble that out of the building, the whole apartment building. You'll want to scramble the whole building. So you make sure it's the building and the parking lot. Okay. So you can go as big as you can go. Some people have a hard time expanding more than just their house. But as you tune in more, you can expand to neighborhoods and states and all sorts of stuff. Some people are really good at that. I'm at the level about neighborhood, maybe a little bit more. But that's just because of my belief system. Some people can go a lot bigger and have a big impact. So as I scramble, I remember we were in this apartment. We scrambled, did a ton of stuff, moved the ley lines. And my intention was that I have a stronger story than anyone who lived in that apartment. That my light was brighter than any of the darkness that was there. And that was our first example of our neighbors moved. So they literally left. And we had a really nice newlywed couple move in. And they were super sweet and super cool, and they became friends with us. And we're like, that's awesome, it worked. So you hold the space. And if they bring some more, guess what? Dowsing can be like taking a bath. You might think like, oh, I took a bath yesterday. Whew, I'm good. Like, I took a bath a month ago. I'm good. I don't need a bath today. I took one a month ago. Sometimes we think like clearing should just be like permanent. But yet, what else in life is permanent? Like, how often do you eat? Like, I ate 6 weeks ago. I should be fine, right? Why do I have to constantly eat? Gosh. It's like, oh man, I cleared that a week ago. Why do I have to clear it again? It's like, that's life. You just do it. Now, the thought of it being permanent, that would be a limiting belief that it's like, has to be a big deal. Well, what if it was just as easy as breathing, eating, and sleeping? Then it wouldn't even matter. You just clear it and be done. Right? Okay.
Thank you.
And there are some things that are a lot more permanent. Like when we do the alignment technique that locks it in, you can anchor it. There's ways to make things more permanent. But still, like the belief of it has to be done one time. It's the microwave effect that we're like, let's just nuke it and be done and eat it. But then it's like gross. Nobody likes that. So you want to make sure you're thorough and that it's permanent. Charles says on dowsing, can we scramble our inability to douse? Yeah, you could. You do whatever the heck you want. We hold the space, have to keep holding it, changes on constant, love it. What do you do when ley lines need to move in opposite directions, but will cross each other? Ask which one needs to move first. Yeah, because they're all the time crossing. Like they're all the time crossing. Ley lines all over the earth, they cross. Same with your meridian lines. They go all over, right? So it's okay. They don't interrupt each other. They just move through. It's like overpasses and underpasses. You can just move them. I won't get into the vortex stuff, but that's good. Yeah, so that's good. All right. Hopefully that answers it. No one done flow. Okay, thank you. What to check for ley lines? What do we check for? Okay. Yeah. Any other questions on that? Who else had a question? We had 2 other people, I think, unmuted themselves. Or did your questions get answered? What else do we check for? I'm not sure what that question is. Like when you're scrambling or doing ley lines, or how do electricity and water? Oh yeah, electricity and water. So electric lines, a lot of times those you can move. Man, electricity sucks. So like when when you're sleeping around a lot of the wires and stuff, it gets complicated. You kind of have to like build force fields and transmuters and things around you, or just move. Like that's the easiest thing. Like get out of there, because that stuff will kill you. We've had, if you're like within 100 feet of a big power line, it's going to throw you off. It just is. You can do your work to try to counter it, but you're going to have to do it a lot, because that's a lot of energy, a lot of frequency that you have to counter all the time. Water lines, same thing. Same thing as a dowsing, same thing as a ley line. You just find the water line, find where it needs to move.
So if electricity is not fun, what about all the EMF stuff that we're starting to deal with?
Yeah, EMFs, you can a lot of times just scramble that energy. And then you can also do some things like wear jewelry or get yourself in tune to where, like, do an alignment on yourself where that just doesn't affect you and it transmutes into energy for you. So you can also do that.
Awesome.
Do you need to scramble the energy before you move the ley line? I don't scramble anything before I move. I just move it. Yeah. They're 2 different things. Scrambling the energy and moving the ley line. There's 2 separate things to do. Cool. Hey,
one more
other? Yep.
So if I wanted to sell my house, which I do, do I just look for ley lines and just then after scramble the energy and then?
Yeah, move the ley lines, move any water lines, and then also scramble any negative, like do a whole home clearing, and then also scramble anything that might be keeping it from selling or being seen or being wanted or desired. And then raise the level of visibility, the level of being desired and wanted and sought after.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that makes a huge difference. We've seen people sell their houses super quick after changing their energy in their home.
Thank you. I'll keep you posted.
And it's also fun if you want to save a lot of money, go find all the houses that don't sell because they're probably all screwed up, buy them, and then change all the energy, and you can like, yeah, it's like super, there's a lot to it. You can do so much with energy stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, because nobody buys them for that reason. And so you know how to change it. So you're like a gold mine. It's like, sweet, I'm going to buy this because everybody doesn't want it. I'm going to buy it and then shift it. Yeah. Okay. Martha, water lines, because they, why do you want to change water lines? So if your house is on a water line, like underwater creeks or underwater streams, same kind of frequencies. It forms a negative frequency that affects your health too. So very similar to a ley line. Okay. We can change the energy of non-selling houses. Yes, you can. And you can also change your frequency. Like we did a whole alignment on ourselves to get our ideal house. We bought it for the exact offer. No one fought us on it. And we're the first people in 2 years to close early from this guy who's helped people. So I was like, yeah, because we align and we know the power of frequencies and energy. So, and if you know the market right now, it's insane. But that's a story. That's a belief system and a frequency. We don't have to go with the flow of everybody else. You are here to define and determine your own destiny and how you want things. So we found our ideal house, the exact price. We actually are have equity into it because like it's what do they call it?
Appraised.
Appraised for more than we're buying. Yeah, there you go. So I'm a first-time buyer, so I don't know. I'm just like, let's buy the house. I'll work on the energy side. My wife's like filling out all the paper. She's doing all the hard stuff. I do all the easy stuff.
With an 8-week-old baby, that's brave.
Yeah, and she needs a lot of vacations. So we're gonna have a vacation here soon. Cool. Okay. Is that cool? You guys, so based off of this, do you feel more empowered to shift things? Yes? Okay. Do you believe that you could at least practice this and get good at maybe changing ley lines for yourself, for others? Yeah? Cool. Yeah, I used to charge back when I didn't charge anything. I would charge like $100. Well, when I started to charge a lot more, but 100 was a lot for me back then. Like it was hard to charge, but I would charge like $100 to do a house clearing, and I would check their ley lines, do a whole clearing, and then like shift it all. So you can get good at this, and you can like even charge for it, and it makes a world of difference. I told my dad what he should have done is said, okay, I'll help you clear your house for a percentage of the multi-million-dollar house, not for $100. So you got to think smart on this. I'll clear your house if it sells within 2 weeks. Just give me a 0.25, like 0.025%. That's like several $1,000s on a multi-million-dollar house, right? Cool, yeah. All right, very cool. Well, thanks, guys. So let's dive in. I'm going to switch hats. I'm going to talk to you guys about, if you don't want to hear this, totally fine. You can hop off. But I'm going to share about the certification, okay? Certification and a lot of cool bonuses, including some dowsing stuff of what I'm going to do. So real quick, let me share my screen with you so you can see what this is. And I'm going to go over the details in detail because we love details. So this is the link. I'm going to share this in the chat box. And by the way, thanks guys for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you guys have had as much fun as I have. You guys have been crushing it. So here's the link for the certification. What the certification is the following. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. Yeah, perfect. So this is called the Abundance Alignment Technique Certified Instructor. Why am I doing it? I did this like twice a year usually. This year we're only doing it one time. This is the only time this year. And the whole point to this are several things. Number one, I've developed a technique that is super amazing, and I need more people to change other people's lives. Whether it's with my technique or your own thing or dowsing, whatever it is, we need better presenters, we need better facilitators, and we need people who make good money doing so they can actually make an impact. It's very difficult to make an impact when you're dirt broke. It is. It just is. I've been there. And your mind's all the time focused in the lack. But when you start to create abundance, then you can teach out of passion and you can start to actually help people make huge changes and transformations. So most certifications, it's all about the technique. Get certified to learn the technique. This is not that. This certification is like 5 things put into one. So I wanted to empower people who love change, love teaching, love transformation, and want to either make money with it or at least want to make a huge impact. Maybe you're already making good money elsewhere, but you just want to make a good impact. So whether it's to monetize or to make an impact or both, that's the kind of people I'm looking for. People who are cause-driven, spiritual-based, cause-driven entrepreneurs. And here's some of the details. So the mission, again, create transformational leaders to teach the fastest, easy, most effective process to help people create permanent change in their lives, thereby changing their communities and the planet. Today, I taught you a little bit about dowsing. Dowsing is going to be included in the certification. So I'm going to have a whole day or more training on dowsing, from measuring how to actually like check numbers, rating things, different frequencies of your business, how to change your frequency in your business, also changing your home and energy. And I'll do a webinar on that anyway before this, but I'm going to do in-depth clearing training, in-depth dowsing to find objects, in-depth trainings on all sorts of stuff, from transferring or transmuting to breaking down stuff, to changing physical objects, to changing spiritual objects, so all sorts of stuff. So I just want to do it all. So I'm going to teach everything I know about dowsing, and I might even invite my dad or some other people to come to teach with it. So that you get as part of this training. The other piece to this is that the first part is to gain a vision of movement. Have you ever tried to go somewhere but didn't really feel the momentum? Like you just don't have the drive, don't have that momentum, right? That's a big issue. And when I started, I didn't have like a vision.
Yeah.
Oops, let me mute everybody.
I like to.
So we want the vision to be really clear because that's the foundation. No matter what you're going to teach, whether you teach my stuff or your own thing, whatever you do, you need to create a movement and a vision for that thing. Got it? So that's important, creating a vision. We're going to dive into what energy work is, what the abundance alignment technique is, why it actually works, and then setting goals of how much money you want to make teaching. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars teaching this, and I've helped other people make tens of thousands of dollars, and some have made hundreds of thousands and teaching multiple things. Okay. Everybody's a little different depending on where you're at. The second part is we're going to master the technique. So I really want to focus on getting you results. So if you feel stuck in your life, which all of us have something that we're stuck with, then we want to really get in depth on defining definitions and the inhibitors and the enablers and all of the different pieces that affect us. And then I want to go into a lot more shortcuts. This time I've found a lot more shortcuts over the past year that I want to teach just to the certification group so that they have something unique to even go share with other people that I don't teach just in the course itself. So you're going to get the latest shortcuts. Facilitating it. So this is a really important thing. Anybody work on people before where you have people who doubt or don't really get results? We are going to address why that happens and how to change that, how to address that so that no matter who you're working with, you can see the shifts and experience the shifts, and it's awesome. So we're going to go through that. This is also going to be a lot of practice. My goal is that you are good at it. You're not just okay, that you're great. You're an expert in this. I know that the only way for you to really go transform someone's lives is if you have that confidence that you're an expert. And we want you to feel like an expert by the time you're done. Not just with a plaque that says you're trained and certified because you took a $37 course that trains you as a mentor. No, you're going to actually go through an amazing life transformation. This is not just get certified. It is change your life, become the person that you're meant to be. You guys following that? Good. Next part, we're going to talk about how to actually hold online sessions in person, remote work, all that stuff. The next piece, once we get really down the whole technique, changing your life, getting rid of allergies and addictions, I want to help you on sales. How many in here would like to make just more money helping people? Yeah. And how many would love to be able to help them in a way that felt good, where you could know that you're delivering and it's going to be 10 times worth whatever they invest with you? Okay. That's what we're going to do by creating a program that is yours. So whether it's teaching my stuff or not, we have people who don't really want to teach the abundance alignment technique because they have their own message, their own gift. Totally fine. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn all these. My goal is to give it to you all just for the certification. So you don't have to go somewhere and learn how to sell. You don't have to go somewhere, learn how to speak. You don't have to go somewhere and learn how to package. You don't have to go somewhere and learn how to do energy work. You don't have to go somewhere and learn all those different pieces that certifications usually only teach how to do a technique. They don't teach marketing. They don't teach how to sell. They don't teach how to package it. They don't teach how to find clients. They don't teach how to do online webinars. They don't teach how to drive traffic to those online webinars. We're going to do all of that. So it's a lot of stuff. Okay. And it's all recorded. Over the past 7 years, I've literally invested almost $500,000 in my personal development, learning how to coach, learning how to market from some of the best people on the planet with it. And I spend about $3,000 to $7,000 a month just on mentors. Like that's how much I put into in my coaching, just for me to learn. And I want to deliver all of that to you guys without you having to go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay. You could go put in 7 years, or we could crush it out in like 3 to 4 months. So it's up to you. You know, I'm all about fast and effective. It is going to require work, effort, and focus. It's not going to be easy because you're going to change who you are. You're going to think differently. You're going to become differently. You're going to communicate differently. And that is the goal. If you go out of this and all you do is learn knowledge, I have failed. I have not taught you. This is an experiential certification where it's to change you so you can change others. Following that? Okay. Other part, you're going to find clients. We're going to dive into how to find them. I don't have it in here, but we're also going to dive into online traffic. So whether YouTube or Facebook, I'm going to go into that. I'm not going to go into it like as in depth as some of the coaches that I pay $3,000 a month for, but I am going to teach you everything you need to actually get some momentum. Okay. And get good at it. Okay. So that's another piece. I'm going to teach you how to do online or live workshops and how to make them profitable. This by far is probably one of the most important pieces. If you can go and teach something, it could be anything. You could teach, I used to do this with EFT and make good money teaching EFT. So you could do it with any technique. I'm going to teach it to you as if you're teaching the abundance alignment technique, but you can take any of your own methods, any of your own techniques and put it in to this form to go share and go make money with. So if you have your own unique thing, which I hope someday you do, because that is really cool and it's fun. But if you want to use my thing as it, perfect. You'll be certified to do so. Okay. And you can do whatever else thing you want to incorporate with it, including dowsing. So you can do a lot of stuff. But this is where we're going to dive into how to actually facilitate transformation and make it fun, how to present, how to get people to change, like doing webinars, doing live events. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to practice it. I'm going to divide you into groups and you're going to practice with each other. Okay. So it's going to be a lot of hands-on practice. We're also going to refine your message and get it to the market. So once you get good at facilitating and teaching, then we're going to get into the marketing. Okay. So the goal is for you to fill your first event by the end of the certification. So by the end, you've already made money. Hopefully you've made back your investment. That's my goal for you. Okay. I want to see people double their investment. So that would be freaking awesome. And I will give you an award for that. I have awards tailored to how much money you make, and you'll get it. So you'll have your first $1,000. You'll have your first $10,000. You'll have your first $20,000. So you'll have an award based on how fast you move forward and how quick you do it. Cool. And then we have an award for your first 6 figures. So once you hit your first 6 figures, you will get an award for that as well. So you'll have you'll also get a little one for your first $100. So it's like your first one, you sold something awesome. Then you'll get one for the 1,000 mark. So it's like 3 figures, 4 figures, 5 figures, and 6 figures. We're going to do an award for each figure that you hit. Okay. It's going to be awesome. So you're going to refine your message. We're going to really focus on that. I'm also going to deliver, one of the parts is webinars, but webinars to kind of like what I'm doing here, except a webinar to teach something and then sell something that feels completely congruent and natural. That's important in today's age. I've done a lot of training on webinars. I've failed a ton doing webinars. I sucked. My first webinar, I had 2 people show up They left about halfway through. It was amazing. And it was great. It was a total epic fail. And I really sucked. You can ask my wife. She hated it because she was really good at it. So she couldn't even be in the room if I was teaching a webinar because it was so bad. She like couldn't listen. And I was just like, hi, I'm Tyler. Let's go. And it was so bad. It was such a struggle. It was horrible. And I'm not joking. Like it was horrible. Every single one of you, even just being on here, you could do better than me back then. So you guys could all crush it out way better. But I want to actually help you, each of you, put together your 30 to 45 minute webinar as a promo to bring them to your events or your one-on-ones. And I'm going to share my funnels with you, my online funnels, so that if you want to just copy paste things, you'll have the templates and how to do it. That by itself is over $5,000 just by itself to do. I have spent a lot more than that on creating it, but people pay $10,000 to get their own funnel done as like for them. I'm actually going to help put it together for you. I'm going to outline it, show you how to do it, and then I'm going to critique it and have it until it's good. So that should be its own course just by itself. But I wanted to give it this year. My goal was, can I deliver everything I've ever done for the certification to have them succeed 10 times faster than I ever did? That's my goal this year. So I want to give it all away this year because I'm only doing it one time. So I'm going to put in as much energy and effort into it. Preparing for your live event, getting through any resistance. A lot of people are scared of people, scared of presenting, scared of selling. You will not be. If you do, I will hunt you down in your dreams and douse you until you will shift if you join, period. Okay. So you are going to change. You're going to get some results. And then we're going to make your first one profitable. Okay. I had one of my one of my previous ones, he made his first event. He made $1,500 doing his first event. So it was fun. You know, it was enough to get some momentum, and one day's work, $1,500, not bad. So I would like to see you guys do a lot more than that. So I want to teach you how to do it. Okay. And then how to stand out like a pro, how to fill it long-term. This is where we're going to get into more of the marketing strategies. So here I'm actually going to teach more YouTube, Facebook strategies. I would even like to help you like come up with an ad. So I'll have a whole time where we go over ad copy and what works, what doesn't in regards to selling transformational stuff. I've tested a lot of things. We've been putting in almost $2,000 to $3,000 a week into ads. So Facebook and YouTube tells me what sucks and what works. So you don't have to. So you don't have to like say, oh, all this really sucks. No, this actually converts. Just copy this and go do it, right? So I want to show you how to do that. Now, as for running your ads, we're not going to do that. Like I'm not an agency. I don't run your ads, but you can look online how to do that. I'll show you some basics. It's not going to be an in-depth of A to Z how to run as an agency your ads. Does that make sense? Because you literally pay like $3,000 a month for agencies to run stuff. So, but it will teach you how to get an ad, how to create an ad, which I think is the most important thing. Because if you have an ad that converts, who cares who does it for you? Just have them throw it up there and run it. You can hire it on Fiverr. I'll show you ways to do it cheaply or ways to do it paying. So ways that you can do it to get your ads going. But I'd like to see you get ads after you do your first event, because then you're going to get some confidence. And then you get ads to your next one, and then or your one-on-one consultations or a mixture of both. And I'll show you from A to Z how to do that. So it's a lot of stuff. We are probably going to do more than 12 weeks, honestly. By the time we're done, it'll probably be 14 to 16 weeks. Don't let the time scare you. I'm just going to open that up for as long as it takes to make sure you got it. So I know that's kind of vague. It'll be a minimum of 12 weeks, a maximum of like 16. Okay. So if you need extra help and we're like, hey, we need to redo that webinar, we need to critique it better, then we're going to extend it. If you're like, man, we really need more focus on the technique, cool. I'm doing this. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to record them for future use. So that's why I'm really going to focus on over delivering here so that we can just give you everything you need to succeed. Okay. And it'll probably be broken into multiple courses that I can sell a la carte, like $2,000 here, $2,000 there, $2,000 there, $2,000 there, $5,000 here, just by themselves. Okay. So that's it. The investment, there's 2 spots. So first off, who's interested in this? Like if you could honestly do this, would this like be exciting for you? Yeah. Okay, cool. I know it's exciting for me. I'm excited just to deliver it. I'm like, dude, this is gonna be so awesome. Plus I'm in my new house and I have an awesome lighting from the top. Like, I think it's going to be epic for me. Oh, I'm like, I can't wait. Like now I have all these like light things and it's like all the echoey. I'm like so excited to teach. It's gonna be so awesome. So I'm excited. Okay. Anyway, back to this. So, okay. If you haven't learned or purchased the abundance alignment technique, if you've already bought the technique in the past as the CAT or the AAT or the AHT, any one of those, then you will go here where you already purchased it. You'll get a discount, okay, if you've already bought the technique. Most of you have, if you've already purchased it, then you've already spent probably like $1,500 to $3,500 or more to learn the full process. If you haven't, then you're going to go here because you're going to get the full process as part of this. You got to learn it to teach it. So you're going to get it. And here's the investment. So it's not $10,000. It's not 15. It's not 35. So this one, it's either one payment of 6,600 or 3 payments, 3 monthly payments of 2,299 or 7 payments of 1,014. Okay. So there's 3 different payment plan options. Each payment plan is a little bit more if you extend the time, but it makes it a little doable for people. If you want to save the most money, then do the first one. Save a little bit of money, then you do the second one. If you want to not save as much, then you do the third one. Like if you'd rather pay less over amount of time or more over the longer time, then you do the third option. Okay. So you just fill this form out and put your credit card number, expiration, all that, and boom, you're in. I'm only taking on 10 more people. This is a limited thing because of how I got to do a lot of work. Honestly, this is way more work. I make a lot more money doing all the other stuff, honestly, but I need help teaching. I need more people out there going and doing good. So that's why I'm opening it up this year. I've really debated on it, but I felt like we need more people. And right now, guess what, guys? COVID and all that, there has been such a boom on online trainings more than ever before. Also, you'll see in about 2 to 3 months, there will be a huge boom for live events. Huge boom. People are hungry for in-person events. So I'm going to teach you how to do both. And you can be on the edge of a whole economy coming back, hoping to like go be live again. Like people are hungry for it. And we're doing it right now. There's people like, I'm going to Florida for courses because Florida's where we're flying to Florida for things. So hopefully we can do that sooner than later and get all your online stuff, do that, and then do a live event and teach you all the works. Okay. Couple pieces. The one-on-one is only available for the next 5 people because I already have 5. I'm only going to do the next 5 to do my one-on-one. You get an alignment with me, which I charge $1,000 for just by itself. So you get a full alignment, which takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I'm going to do an alignment on you before we start. We're going to start at the end of April. Okay. So you have a couple weeks to prep, and I'm going to either give you access to the alignment technique. If you already have it, then you can also get access to the old certification and start going through some of the beginning pieces if you'd like to just get warmed up, okay, and get in the motion of it. If you don't want to go through the old one, that's okay. You can just wait and we'll start when we start, which will be the end of April. When is it? We're going to hold it either Monday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. It'll be either morning or night. Just depends on who all we have. So it's totally dependent. I'm going to tailor it to the group so that you at least hit 1 live. We'll probably go live 2, maybe 3 times a week to really get everything delivered. Okay. Each course will be anywhere from 1 to 3 hours with assignments to practice and go do. Okay. How do we pack in 40 years of experience in 3 months? Well, this is how we're going to be doing it very fast, very effective, aligning ourselves, working through it, becoming, learning the skills, implementing it, and mastering it. Okay. So you can spend as little time or as much time as you want. If you're like, hey, Ty, I don't really want to teach much, but I would love to get certified, then you could just join the certification, skip all the marketing parts, and just do the parts that you want, because you're going to have access to it forever, basically. So it'll be recorded, and if you miss classes, you'll watch them, you can catch up. We're going to have a catch up time. We'll have a couple weeks off too, to make sure you catch up, questions and all that. Cool. Another bonus that I want to do. So you get the one-on-one alignment. I wanted to do this. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Who in here would love to learn how to facilitate transformation in 1 session with a person? Like, you could do a session with somebody and you know their life could be changed. Yeah. Doing whatever, like not even with any techniques, just with pure communication. So I wanted to do this course for a while, and I'm going to charge anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 for it, a la carte, at the end of the alignment. After this whole course, I'm going to do this Mentor Maker course, and you're going to get it for free as part of this. So I believe it's good to have a lot of skills. Skills of teaching, skills of transforming, skills of marketing. As a facilitator, we tend to avoid the marketing and the sales. We just want to change people's lives. But if you realize that changing people's lives is actually marketing and sales, and mentoring is actually, a good mentor is a great salesperson. If you can help someone commit and make a change, you're selling them on themselves. So a great mentor is actually a great salesperson. So I'm going to teach you all the things that I've learned over the years as a mentor and a coach, how to facilitate transformation. So in here, I'm actually going to teach you how to start the session all the way from beginning to end, how to hold accountable, how to do all the pieces so that even if you don't want to do the alignment, you could just mentor and make good money out of that. So you're going to have a lot of stuff to pick from. Literally, I believe it's over $100,000 worth of value. I've put in well more than that, so I know the value on it. But this is up to you guys of what it is that you want to get out of it. Like, what would make it worth it to you? Like, if you could learn even just one piece, how to speak, how to fill an event, online or off. Let's say you sell your course to speak for $500 and you get 10 people for $500 in. You made $5,000 on the front. Then you get good at the skill of enrolling at the end of your course, and you sell them into your one-on-one coaching or your online program for $1,000 to $5,000. Let's say it's just $1,000. So you get them into your day training for $500, then you upsell them to your $1,000 thing. If you have 10 people up front, that's $5,000. If 2 of those people say yes and move forward on your next one, you just made your whole investment back in one day, plus some. Just with 10 people. You don't need 1,000 people. You don't need 100 people. You just need 10. So when I first started, I had nobody. I sucked really bad. It was horrible. But I had a lot of doubts and fears and uncertainties and all of my allergies and addictions. And I had to make some big changes, and I had to learn structure, strategy, sales, and how to facilitate really well. I'm going to cover a lot in this course. So my goal is not for it to be overwhelming. It's to be doable and to where you use it and you get results. This is a result-based certification. It's not a, you're certified. What does that mean? I want to see you actually go and do it. Go do things with it. Go change people's lives. Go make an influence. Go make an impact. Okay? So that's what I've got for you. If you've already learned the technique, the abundance alignment technique, then you save a little bit of money there. So it's one payment of $5,100, 3 payments of $1,799, or 7 payments of $799. Okay? So that's if you've already gone through the abundance alignment technique training and learned it, bought it. Okay? Like the full course. So if you've done that, then you've already spent over like $1,000 with me probably. So that's why it's here. You get a little discount. Okay? All right. Some of you have paid a lot more than that, but you got different things. So that's that. Questions? Here's the link again. Let me get you that link, just if you're interested. Next week, I'll be doing another webinar. It goes up $100. The week after that, I'll be doing another webinar. It goes up another $100. And the final week, it goes up one more time. So you'll save $300 if you want to do it before next Thursday. Okay. If you decide on Thursday of next Thursday to hop on, it'll be an extra $100 on all those all the payment stuff, just so that you're aware. So if you do want to save a little money, if you're looking to make a change, go on a journey with me and a bunch of other amazing people, then I'd love to have you on board. I think it'd be an honor to have you as part of this. I just love helping people and I try my best. I'm not perfect, but hey, we are all working together and we're working to make a difference. So let's get some questions, some things that you have questions on. And I'll put this in the chat again. Here's the link if you want to sign up. The next 5 people only will get my bonus one-on-one session because my time, after that's 10 sessions that I'm doing, which is a lot for me. So yeah, after that, I'm taking that bonus off. So once, if it's still on the page when you sign up, then you got the bonus. Okay. Any other oh, and dowsing. I didn't even, oh yeah, I did mention that, but I'm going to be doing a whole course on dowsing. It might be in between those weeks, or it might be at the end of it, depending on how fast we go. I would like to do at least an 8-hour total training on dowsing. So you're really well prepped to douse and you know how to do it on all sorts of stuff. So I'd like to do like a full day or 2-day, broken into 2 days, like a training fully that I can do it justice and to teach you all the pieces. I've paid like anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to do or more to do the dowsing. And then a lot of it is practice, 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 practice. Same with the alignment. We're going to do a lot of practice. Okay. Because that's when you get good. You could practice sucking, like going and trying to do it, which we don't ever do because then we don't want to be judged and we don't want to feel hypocritical. Or we can practice in the room where it's safe, where you can make mistakes, where you can get critiqued, where you can improve. And instead of having to go spend tens of thousands of dollars, you can do it for less than 10 grand. And I know a lot of other certifications are way more than that. I've bought most of my stuff over $10,000. So the reason I'm doing it, a couple things. I just felt like that's a great price point. I feel like it's a good thing if, as a career. Like if you could invest less than 10 grand to make a 6-figure business, that's a pretty dang good investment. Like I'm excited for you to do that. For those of you who are not really into it for the money, I would love for you to say, wow, I had some of the best transformations that I've ever had going through it. And it was as if you paid 25 grand to do personal breakthroughs and you had that throughout the course. Okay. And Balin, yes. Yeah. If you have to do something to wait for money, like if you have to pull out of certain funds or allocate funds, then yes. If you say that you want to hold the spot, then I will hold that spot. Yep. Okay.
Will you be teaching next year?
I don't know. I hope so, but I don't know. And it might not be live. It might all just be recorded. So it just depends.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll probably teach it next year. Like I've done it every year. I love teaching, but I also know my time is getting a lot more consumed with things. So it might not. Like where we're going and what we're doing, my mission is more to empower a lot more people. So I might either have instructors teach it for me or do it like part me, part them type of thing. So it won't be like full me.
Okay. The price the same probably? No?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it'll probably go up. Like it probably
Okay.
won't go down. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because there's a lot of stuff and the bonuses will be different and all that. So yeah. And it's not for everyone. So this isn't for everyone. But if it is resonating and if it is something you're like, wow, this is really a mission, like you got to be pretty seriously committed to go on this journey, more than just the financial piece, because this is a life-changing, confronting, learning skills that take people sometimes 10 years to get good at and to do it in months. So this is a crash course that is in depth and thorough on like 5 different things. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be doable. You'll be able to go through it. You'll be proficient at it. And if not, I'm going to extend it and we're going to go until you feel good at it. Okay. And then a couple questions. Do you have any idea when you'll be doing the straight up dowsing class? I don't. It'll probably be either in the middle of the certification or at the end. And I'll be promoting that a la carte. It'll probably be a couple $100 or more, just for the dowsing piece. So, but everybody else gets it here free for the certification. So do you believe that if you have your own techniques, this teaching will benefit getting off the ground? Oh, heck yeah. So if you just want to do your own thing, like Tyler, I don't want to do the abundance line technique. Totally cool. I'm not tied to techniques. My goal through the certification, I label it as a certification. I have people who get certified and then never teach the technique. I'm going to teach, I use the technique as the form to get good at teaching, because you have to have something to teach. So I want to teach you how to teach, in my opinion, one of the best techniques on the planet, but then you can take that form and teach anything with it. So if you want to teach leadership skills, if you want to teach whatever it might be, history, but you want to actually monetize it, make an impact, or if you have your own techniques, then you can do that. Okay. So yeah, it's not going to be tied to the technique. I'm not tied. I don't want you to be tied, but I do want you to learn how so that you can do it with anything. Cool. Rosine. Yeah, it's an awesome technique indeed. Thanks. And for those of you who did sign up, congrats. Like we already have several that have signed up and thinking about it. You're moving money around. I've had to do so many things. I started this journey when I didn't have money, but I knew where I was going. I didn't want money to define me or stop me from living my mission. And at the end of the day, I thought, well, what's the whole point of all this money stuff? I had so much stuff. And I was like, people just save money to then retire. And then they don't have enough to retire anyway. So then they just work. And usually it's gone and something happens. And then they're like, what was the point? Like, what did I do? So I would rather you get experiences, change and become educated and transform your life so that you're not tied to a job. You're not tied to one way. Like if you want to go make a big amount of money, you could. If you had everything crash and destroyed, you have the skills that you could go succeed and go make it back. So that to me is true freedom. Like to be able to go anywhere on the planet. If I lost it all, I could come back and make a multiple high-end 6-figure income. And we're already on our way to 7 figures this year. So I know I could duplicate that. And I could lose everything, start over. And I've started over 6 times over the past 6 years. So I've done it. And so sometimes I just do it just to prove myself that I can do it. Because I'm like, I hear everybody's stories like blah, blah, blah. It's hard and life's tough. And okay, well, I'll do it and show you. So we get it. Those are just stories and they can change. Cool. Any other questions? I'm curious. Anybody interested in going on the journey with me and experiencing it? Yeah. So Juana, Belen, awesome. Anybody thinking or a little unsure, like, do you have questions, or like, is it more of a money piece, time piece? You would, but hey, the funding part. So if the money piece is there, I just encourage you. For me, I had to get loans. That's what I did. I put things on. I wasn't into credit until I learned about utilizing credit for education and learning something. So my first enrollment, gosh, I spent $5,500 to learn just how to speak. That was it. It was just to teach you to speak from stage. And I used a borrowed credit card from my brother-in-law. I was already in debt. I had no clients, and I was recently married. My wife was super sick. We had less than $1,600 in our bank account. But I knew, like, hey, I'm in this life to create. And I know I need the education. So I'm either going to have to get educated through hard knocks, which takes years, or hire somebody to take me through the fast route and work on all my limiting beliefs around money. So I did that route. Then fast forward a month later, now I have $400 in my bank account, and I learned how to speak, but not how to sell. So I was like, oh shoot, I still need to make money. I was like, crap. And so I had $400 in my bank account. It was super hard. Like, I say it kind of funny now, but I know what it's like. I was times where I would cry myself to sleep every night, wondering how I'd get by, pay for the food. Like, I know that feeling, and it's not fun. But I also know the feeling of not being defined by my current situation, and saying, one day I'll look back on this story. I even created that in the moment. I said, in the moment of the struggle, I said, one day I'm going to look back on this, and it's going to be a story I'm going to tell other people, that I didn't let my situation define them, and neither should they. And here's what I am. Here's what I do today. So everything you go through is a story. If you have to move through mountains to come up with money, guess what? When somebody comes along and they're like, I don't have the money, I've tried everything, you could say, let me tell you a story. I too have experienced that a lot of times, but I didn't let that stop me from living my mission. And that empowers them to do something different. I've had people that say, I'll do it in a year or two. Year or two go by, they're still in the same situation. They still are broke. They still are struggling. They still are trying. And they still are waiting endlessly until they finally hit rock bottom to say, actually, maybe I should try to hire somebody, whether it's me or somebody else. But you got to go on that journey to learn, whether through hard knocks or through learning through the hard knocks of others. I chose the route of, I'm going to pay as much as possible get the best knowledge out there. So I've done a lot, and I'm really grateful for it. You do have to work on yourself. You do have to confront your stories, and it can be difficult at times. There's a lot of times I did dowsing every day. I was like, scramble all my debt, scramble all the negative energy, scramble all my regrets, scramble all the things of me trying to be saved and feeling like I made a bad decision and I'm unwise and everybody thinks I'm stupid and crazy and I'll never make it. And I know the stories. I know them very well, too well, in fact. And then align it. And then I got good at aligning and creating my own thing and becoming and transforming. And I feel really blessed to have gone through the fire. If I had to go back through, I would totally do it again with a fireproof vest or like a fireproof suit. I'd be like, okay, I got this now. Like, sweet. So I wouldn't change how I did it. We've lost money. We've made money. We've struggled. We've done all sorts of stuff. Now we're in the place where we believe that I know that to get the biggest changes, you got to go through decisions that are tough. Some of you, it's a no-brainer. Some of you are like, sweet, let's do it. Jump on, easy peasy, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, whatever it is, $8,000. And it's like, cool, the next thing. Some of you might be thinking, crud, I've invested so much already. Will this really work? I've done this and this and this. I had that story too. But at the end of the day, you've got to change your story, and you can align, you can douse and say, this is going to be the time that I own it. I step into my power, I do it, and I make 10 times the investment that I make. You write your story going into this program. So if you want to double it, triple it, you write that story. Everything you do, you have to write your story. Like, what is it? And not just write it, you know, like not just write it out, like write it in your soul. And you can do that through the alignment, through dowsing, through various forms. So anytime I sign up for something, this is how I do it. I say, I don't care if this is how I did it. I signed up for a guy. So that happened. And I had to buy the next course for like $2,400 to learn sales. Bought that on a $400 payment plan with my last $400 and dove in because I was desperate. I was like, I'm going to learn this. I'm going to soak it up. So I studied hard. I stayed up late. I sacrificed movies. I didn't watch TV. I stopped playing video games. I had to like sacrifice my comfortableness to get where I wanted to go. So I had to let go of old things that weren't serving me. And then I learned how to sell. And in 1 week, I made $6,400 doing it. That was half my annual income of the previous year. That was huge for me. Like I remember crying to my wife, calling her on the phone. I made my first sale. It was like $1,500 and we had no money. And I was like, oh my goodness, we could feed ourselves. It was amazing. And that was the best money I've ever made in my life. I've even done $250,000 in 3 days, but that didn't have the same feeling as that first $1,500 because that felt like $1 million to me because it was going to feed us. It was going to pay the rent. I was like, yes, I learned it. It was so good. And you will have that experience too. If you've been struggling and you want that experience, it will come if you choose it to happen. Or you can not do that. Either way, it's your choice. It's your decision. I'm going to help you. I'm going to coach you. I'm going to not carry you. If you don't show up, I might send a couple texts once or twice. And if you fall off the face of the planet due to your stories and never show up and hate me for the rest of your life, that's your story. Or you can say, I'm going to own this. I'm going to work through it. I'm going to change. I'm going to take full responsibility and I'm going to double my income in a month, baby. And if that's what you want, then you can do it. I will teach you how. Okay. So that's what I have. There's a lot of thrifty ways to come up with money. I've borrowed a lot. I've done a lot of things. I've done a lot of ways to come up with money and it helped a lot of things. It helped a lot of people. You could sell things. I've sold stuff. Like there's a lot of ways, you know, you could do a GoFundMe and get some funding there. You could, be really nice to your friends and family and like, be like, please. You could, there's all sorts of ways. When there's a will, there's a way and you can change it. I'm a firm believer in that. I'm also a believer in a higher power. And when I was in that place where I didn't have the money, I literally didn't, and I didn't have any cards or anything. I just prayed and was like, okay, God, like this is for me. I'm going to do it. And give me the strength to do what it takes to create it. So I knew if someone could cast a net in and catch a fish and pull out money out of a fish, then there had to be a way for me to come up with like $5,500 back then. So then I called people and did things I'd never done and confronted my doubts and fears and came up with it. The next month I did that other investment. And then the next month I did a $35,000 investment on a $3,000 a month payment plan. And you have to realize I came from a background where I was making less than $12,000 a year. So I dove into a huge program within 3 months of my first income. And it pushed me hard. It was tough. I had to make the payments every month. And sometimes it was tough. Like I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up, but I didn't. And I kept going and I kept working on myself. And I'm really grateful that I didn't listen to my stories of the sabotage, that I actually believed in myself enough to take action on my dreams. So each one of you has a dream. It may or may not be involved with me. I just want you to live that dream, whatever it is. So I just want to thank you guys for being here. Thanks for learning with me, from me. I learned from you. You learned from me. I believe we're mirrors. And it's been so fun today. I've had a blast. So any other questions or anything? Again,
So,
that link, I'll text you here if you want to grab it. Yeah, go ahead.
Graduation party may not be in July, right?
Correct. I'm probably thinking it'll be end of July or mid-August.
August.
Yeah. My goal is to have you do at least one entire presentation where you're making money way before that. And then your second one, I want to do it like where you can double what you did, because then we'll have marketing. We'll be working on that messaging. We'll be doing it really well. But I want your first one just to go do it. Like, just go get it done and make money at it. Like,
So
don't do
it doesn't have to be AAT. I mean, when
Oh no, you can teach whatever. Like if you want to teach doTERRA, we could totally do that. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Or oils, or how to facilitate transformation through oils, or whatever it is. But I do want you to do your first presentation. It would be ideally to do the AAT, because that's how you're going to learn the style. And it'll teach you it'll teach you all the form to do anything with.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you the marketing. It'll be a lot easier if you do it on that, because I'm going to show you the verbiage just for that. And then as we get into the marketing for the second phase, then we can dive in more specifically to your own stuff.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. If you do need a consultation on it, on the form, if you go to exit, a pop-up will pop up and say, do you need to talk about this? So if you do, you can book a consult right there. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Still, did you say how many openings right now?
10. I haven't looked to see if anybody's bought them
10.
now.
You said, didn't you say 5?
Oh, 5 to get the one-on-one session with me.
Oh,
So the next 5 get the one-on-one session, and then the 5 after that don't get the one-on-one session, just because I'm getting maxed out on my calendar.
Okay.
So let me see if anybody else. So yeah, that's kind of how it is. Sweet. So yeah, that's what we've got. Okay. And we did have another person sign up today, so it's going quick. Sweet. So yeah, if you have other thoughts or questions, any other concerns that you want to talk about here? Okay. Well, thank you guys for joining me. Whatever you do, go make a difference, move some ley lines. And if the certification resonates, I'd love to see you on board. I'd love to see you go make a transformation and an impact. And yeah, figure out the details and let's make it happen. Okay. Thank you guys. Have an awesome day and have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Belen, yeah, if you needed to, we could do that.
Thank you, Tyler.
Yep. Thank you all. And Juana, yeah, just PM me.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you all. Have an awesome day and we'll talk to you soon.
I just did the exit thing, so I'm just booking now.
Perfect.
Thanks.